you blessed beyond a channel ball. You're beautiful when they see. Out of control, you'll see. You came up to can't knock you down. You an ego and you're so now. I see you, yeah, you glowing, you're rolling, so lethal, yeah, explosive commotion. Walk in the room and you'll freeze, yeah. You stop your time when you leave. S-P-E-C-I-A-L, you special, you're so wonderful. You know you a queen, so never let them get you off your throne. Perfect just the way you are, you blessed beyond the channel wall. God took his time when he made you. One of a kind, you 100 proof. Top of the line, 911 coupe. Stop in the time, you're so magical. God took his time, one of a kind. Top of the line, stop in the time. God took his time, one of a kind. Top of the line, stop in the time. Hey, you are amazing, simply amazing. I just want to stop and say that you're beautiful. God took his time when he made you, simply amazing.
Hello, hello. Welcome back to Facing Purpose Radio Show. I am your host, Lakia Barnett. It's so good to be back before you on this lovely Saturday evening. I'm so excited about my two guests today. Two awesome women who are rocking out in many ways, more than one, wearing many hats. So I hope and pray that your weekend has been going good as mine. I'm feeling so much better. You guys know I was under the weather for a long, long time, but I'm good. I'm back, and I'm striving really hard. So I pray that your holidays and your new year is going well. And I pray that something on here tonight will be piercing to you and help you in many, many areas. So let's get started on tonight. Miss Frenchia Gardner, she is a mother of four, graduate of Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas, Bachelor's of Arts. I mean, come on, Bachelor's. And she has overcome trauma, domestic violence, mental illness, bipolar depression, homelessness, you name it. We are going to chat with her about these things. So welcome to the show, Miss Frenchia Gardner. Welcome to Facing Purpose.
Thank you so much, Lakia, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. So I'm so glad to have you here. I thank you for taking out of your busy schedule. So all this stuff that you got going on, I was good. I can get you.
You are right.
So why don't you go ahead and listen, it's quite a few things that I want to touch on tonight. You have so much that I think resonates with so many people. So I know I gave you a hefty introduction, but let's kind of tap into a little bit about you overcoming trauma. Like that is like, listen, I'm a big advocate for overcoming and healing and getting healed, and especially when you have gone through some things. So can you tell us about how you kind of overcame trauma? Where did all of this come from? Because reading your bio, it says that you overcame trauma from being molested by your father and going through domestic violence relationships. That is a whole mouthful right there. So I'm going to let you have it right now.
Yes, ma'am. So I have, overcome a lot of different obstacles throughout my life. As you stated, I was molested by my father. I've been through, different domestic violence situations and relationships, been homeless. Probably the toughest thing that I'm still going through is being separated from my children. And so I just am just grateful, Lakia, to be here. And these experiences have allowed me to grow in, dramatically. And over the years, I have, conquered and healed from these different tragic situations that I've faced in life. And mainly I had to, just kind of do some me time and really just sit down with myself and really figure out what's been going on.
Wow. I am just really happy, number one, that you made it through these things. You know how we hear these stories and some people don't make it out. And you are one of the voices that have made it out. And I'm a true believer that whatever you are stamped to go through, it really has purpose for you somewhere. And I do believe that you go through things not only just for you, but to go and get the people out that is needed and that is called to you. So that's kind of what I hear when I'm talking to you. But you are an overcomer by far. The things that you've said that you have gone through, that is really, really inspiring. So tell me about how you started, with your book. Where did that come from? How was that birthed?
So in 2019, I had a dream, and in the dream, I was talking to one of my peers, Tori Russell. He's an activist, and he was telling me in the dream that I had not done enough to make my children aware that I still love them and that I'm still thinking about them. And so I woke up from that dream, Lakia, and I wrote the book. I sat down and I wrote the book in one setting, and then I also published it on CreateSpace on Amazon. And because I knew that if I had sat down with that information for too long, I would not have published it. So I did that in June of 2019. And then I had my girlfriend, Del Chambers, to illustrate the book for me. And then I published the second edition of Mommy and Daddy, Do You Still Love Me Anymore? I published that this past summer in July as a paperback and as a Kindle book.
Wow. So that's interesting. You know, I'm a firm believer. I dream a lot. I've been a dreamer since I was very, very young. And I'm a firm believer that is one of the ways that God will speak to you. And especially if that's how you're wired. So you remind me of the greats that I've read about that, one of the things on how they ended up launching into what they launched into, or how they invented what they invented, it came through a dream. So I think that hits home perfectly. So talk to me also. I read about one of your paintings. Was it the first Bloom that was selected for London's No Name Gallery April 2021 issue? Talk to me about those things.
Yes. So I've been painting. I took a class, and I started learning to do some acrylic painting. And I just do that kind of for fun. It helps me to relax. So I do that. And so I submitted my painting, First Bloom, which was a painting that I did kind of in memorialization of this flower. I had bought this flower, and it had finally bloomed. It was a beautiful purple little spring flower, and it had finally bloomed. And so I painted a painting to show how it had bloomed, and I thought it was so pretty. It was purple. It's my favorite color. So I got all excited. So I painted this painting of the flower. And so I just was kind of looking for some outlets for my art, and came across the No Name Gallery in London, and they basically every month they take submissions for artwork, and I submitted my painting, and very cool. I thought it was super cool, and they selected it. So they selected it to for their April issue, April 2021 issue last year. So I thought that was very cool.
Yes, that is amazing. That is really, really amazing. That was one of the things that had jumped out about about your bio when I was, just sitting down reading, and I see that you have many gifts and talents in painting and writing. Um, and that is one of those things that you use to heal from your trauma. I don't think a lot of people understand that, the many steps to healing to trauma is finding an outlet. You know what I mean? And sometimes through your trauma, you can kind of tap into things that you didn't even know were in you. Did you find that to be the case with you?
I did. Well, not really. I'll be honest with you. I've always been a fan of the arts. I've been in the arts in some form or fashion all of my life. Um, so, it was, I guess, a rediscovery is basically what happened.
Wow, that's so that's so interesting. So, with all of that being said, we talked about your trauma, and we talked about how your trauma led you to this creativity side of painting. Um, and so, I see that you have a passion for, just making sure for business owners, um, and making sure that they, go forth in what they're supposed to do. Talk to me about that a little bit. Where does that passion come from, and how do you assist in that arena?
So, when I lived in St. Louis, Missouri, I fell into a community. I found a community and just started just really having a passion for Black businesses. And in 2019, I I started a podcast called A News You Can Use podcast. And initially, it was just really just to put good news out, like people's different events and things like that. But what it transformed into, Lakia, is basically a platform where I promote Black and brown businesses across the diaspora. And so I've been interviewing Black and melanated business owners and sharing their stories, with the world. And I started the platform because I felt like, we do as Black and brown business owners across the diaspora, we are doing some amazing things. But the mainstream media is not talking about us. They're not showing, all the great programs that we're starting for communities. And so I wanted to start a platform to promote these businesses and all the great things that they were doing. So right now the podcast is going into its third season this year and this month. And last month I put out basically all the interviews that I had done all summer. I hadn't put out yet. You can listen to the podcast and News You Can Use podcast on basically wherever you listen to the podcast. It streams on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon, just basically wherever you listen to your podcast. And that's basically what I did with that.
I think that is super dope. You're giving an outlet, especially to spotlight these kinds of businesses and things like that. So I think that is super dope that you honestly took your podcast and you're going to make it work for that kind of community. So that kind of leads me to even you being a business owner. I see that you have done designs like merchandise for notebooks, curtains, T-shirts, phone cases, you name it. How in the world? Because everybody can do it now, but how did you start kind of launching into doing merchandise and stuff?
So I started back in 2017 when I started my brand BNS LLC. I had went to a lecture, and it was Baba Kaba Kamini or Booker T. Washington, and he had suggested that he had made a bunch of suggestions. At that time, people were protesting, what was going on globally, and he had suggested that people started march to a black store, and everybody pledged to spend $25. So I thought that was a great idea, and I actually did it. I organized a march to a black bookstore in St. Louis called Progressive Emporium. That was like March 2017. So then that led me to designing my first T-shirt design for the event. And so from there, I just started just trying to figure out how to leverage, what I have. So I, did some research and I started putting my paintings on these different products like that you named. And so I have my original paintings on, T-shirts, hoodies, phone cases, duvets. You can get print, frame print, um, just all kinds of stuff. And so I just decided that I just wanted to figure out a way to continue to share my art, basically my paintings with the world. And so that putting the painting on merchandise was my outlet for that.
Yes, so that is so great. I love how creative you are, and I love the different
Yeah.
avenues that you tap down. And I love just how you allowed your creativity to just open one door and open another door and go down another lane and go down another lane. So how important is that for people to really tap in and understand the gifts that they already have? You ever heard of saying that don't recreate the wheel if you don't have to? I think a lot of people they stress a lot, but God has really given us all gifts that can really allow us to do what you did, like merchandise or whatever it is that they may be called to do. How important do you think that is that people really tap into their creativity? Because that may even lead them into their wealthy place or making, extra streams of income, especially with the economy going the way it is. You notice in pandemic, a lot of people launched off and started their own businesses. You know what I mean? So how important is that to you to really encourage people to use the gifts and the talents that are already in them to really launch them and make room for them as far as adding on residual income or whatever? How important is that to you that people understand that?
I think it's very important, Lakia. I just kind of I'm grateful that, I'm given a vision, and I can say probably everybody does not have a vision. I really wanted to, my whole thing is to have, at least 7 streams of income. So I'm always looking for ways to expand myself out to have those at least 7 streams of income. And so I think what it is that you have to tap into what you love. That's really what happened with me. I tapped into my passion. My passion is art, the art and creating. And so that's what I think is important for people to do is just tap into what it is that they're passionate about. And when you're able to find that, you can figure out what kinds of things that you can create or figure out so that you can continue to build and to brand. That's what was mostly important to me, to have those different forms of income. And so I'm under the premise of just doing it. I don't go through all of the routes of researching and things I should do, I'm sure. But I just put those ideas out there, Lakia, because I just know myself. Like, if I don't put my ideas out there, then I'm probably not going to do it. I'm going to probably procrastinate. So that's what it, to me, what it's about. Just putting out those ideas out there as they come to you, and seeing how you can make it better, and really create something beautiful for others.
I agree with you. It's just like instantly with you, I feel like you took risks that some people would never take. because they're so fearful of what people are going to think, how are people going to do this. And with you, I just see you just being a risk taker, like, look, I'm just about to do this thing because if I don't do it, I probably will never do it. That's kind of how it looks at, and that's kind of like how I am, too, as well. So what are some tips that you can give to people who are starting out in entrepreneurship? What are like 2 tips that you can give them to kind of help them? Like I have tied to a lot of entrepreneurs that listen in, and I'm sure there are so many that want to birth out something and really don't know where to start. So what are your 2 tips to them tonight?
My two tips are really focus on what you're passionate about. Do the things that you're willing to, that you will do, even if you're not paid. That's pretty much, to me, is where your passion lies. Those things that you can do when you're not, when time is not a constraint, money is not a constraint. You just love to do it. Work on those things. Find things. Develop ideas where you can, do things that you're passionate about. Secondly, I say do some research on your, who you planning to sell to, and your idea. Research, because more than likely somebody's already done it before. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can work with something that somebody has already tried already. I also would say reach out to people who are in the industry that you are considering starting a business in. Reach out to people who are doing similar things or the same things, and contact them and see how either y'all can work together or how you can get some ideas on your own thing.
Okay, so I love that. I love that. I definitely agree with you in many more ways than one, that you just gotta start. You just have to start. And sometimes, like you said, it's just a very passion, whatever you can wake up and see yourself doing every day without consciously thinking about it. Those are, many different avenues that you can expand on to launch into. Now, because you're an author, there are so many people that have books. I mean, in the last year, I think I've talked to over 50-something people that are like ready to write books and don't know how. What is your strategy when it comes to these authors being birthed and how they should start?
Ask that again. I'm sorry.
As far as the authors, we have a lot of people who have things like diaries and journals and things that they want to publish and don't know how. What is 2 of your tips for upcoming authors?
Oh, okay. For authors, I would say I think it's about getting organized. You definitely write down all of your ideas and get yourself organized first. I have learned from my experience that doing outlines, to organize your thoughts, that helps a lot in preparation and writing a book. Get you somebody, a good friend. If you don't have the funds, get you a good friend that will edit and proofread your book for you, because you might miss. More than likely, you're going to miss your own errors. So definitely pay somebody or get a good friend to edit your book, your manuscript for you. And so I wrote a children's book. So I got with a lady named Cassandra with Uzuri Designs, and she's the one that formatted the book to get it ready for print and upload it to Amazon. And so I would say do some research, depending on what kind of book you have. Like now that I've done it, I would say Amazon isn't the only place that you can do your self-publishing with. I'm also now that I've gone through the experience, I'm looking at Ingram Books or Ingram Spark or something like that. So consider your publishing options before you start writing, so that you can know which avenue to take. Now after I publish a book, now I understand that Ingram works with a lot of bookstores and libraries, and so having your book self-published with them, then you get a lot of distribution opportunities that you might not have with Amazon. So that's something I definitely learned from the experience. But mainly it's just doing it. I think a lot of times we put too much pressure on ourselves, and as long as you can get a good manuscript without any errors and grammar errors, you're pretty good. That you are you working with a good start. And so with that, you can publish your book. It's pretty easy.
Great, and I agree with you on that. So why don't you go ahead and tell everybody how they can find you, connect with you, and also let me know what's going to be happening with you in the new year. What's the plan? What's next? What is next? Because you have quite the bio. You have done quite a lot. So what is next? And let everybody know how they can connect with you on your social media platforms and so forth.
Yes, ma'am. So I am. You can reach me. Basically, you can connect with me on social media through my brand B and Us LLC. That's BE, just be yourself, and Us LLC. And so that's on Facebook and Instagram, B and Us LLC. On Twitter, my Twitter account is Miss MS Frenchie 06. LinkedIn, you can connect with me. My name is spelled Frenchier Gardner. Do go to my website. You can check out my art and basically everything that I got going on my website. And the short URL is bit.ly / capital Frenchie capital books. And there you can buy your signed copies of Mommy and Daddy, Do You Still Love Me Anymore? You can buy I've co-authored 2 other books, Finding Joy in the Journey, Volume 2, and then also you can purchase the audiobook that I'm a part of in the confinement struggles. I also have a Facebook group you can join. It's called Ujamaa Market. And you can tune into the podcast, A News You Can Use podcast, basically wherever you listen to your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, iHeartRadio, and all of those sorts. And as far as this year goes, Lakia, I have my first book signing will be in San Antonio, Texas, on May 11th, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Twig Bookshop. And I'm really just connecting with as many platforms and bookstores as possible to basically feature and sell my books. And so that's really all I have going on this year. Just promoting the book, my children's book.
All righty. So we thank you so much for coming to Facing Purpose Radio Show to just bless us with your many gifts, your many talents. We look forward to keeping up with you and seeing how you are doing and what you are doing in the near future. Blessings to all of your books, all of your projects that you have your hands to. And I just thank you again for coming on to share with us that it is obtainable to become an author. It is obtainable to use your God-given gift to make room for you and to open up other arenas and to do what it is that you're truly passionate about. You are truly the epiphany of an overcomer. an overcomer that has gone through many obstacles, but has chosen to turn those obstacles into purpose and being a world changer as well. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, Lakia. It's been an honor. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. So you guys, next up, let's just go ahead and take a quick break, and we will be coming back with our next guest, Miss Tangelia Terrell, y'all, coming up next.
Without the vision, the eyes slowly die. Where are the people with heart full of courage? People with passion to reach the unreach. Oh, where are the pillars of faith? Spirit-filled preachers and prophets that pray. Where are the lighters who stands unafraid? People directed to go where God lives. Show it, oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm the one you will love God. Yes, I know it's always show it, oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, I got people who see this without a vision, their eyes slowly dies. Well, I got people with heart full of courage, people with passion.
And we are back, and I am just ecstatic about the many guests that have came through here so far. But this next guest, she's a youth, adult, and mental health, also a first aid trainer, and I'm sure many other things, especially an author. So again, we are going to bring to the show now Tangelia. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Terrell. Are you on the line?
Hi, yes, it's Tangela.
Tangela. Okay. Y'all forgive me. Names, Y'all got these names down. Lord have mercy. Tangela.
Okay.
Beautiful. Beautiful, though. It is such a beautiful name. Does it have a meaning to it?
It means angel of God.
See, I knew it. I was like, this name got to have a meaning to it. I knew it. But welcome to Facing Purpose. I'm so glad that you took out your precious time to come be with us and talk about the great things that you are doing. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone.
Thank you so very much for having me on your show tonight. I am Tangelia Terrell, better known in the virtual world as Dr. Worth It. I own Worth It Mental Health Wellness, LLC, which is a company which teaches mental health first aid, which helps people, especially teachers. I work primarily with teachers because I'm a teacher myself. Teaching teachers how to identify signs and symptoms of mental illness in children. I'm also certified in adult mental health first aid as well. As I said, I am a teacher. I've been a teacher for about 24 years now. I teach in Prince George's County Public Schools in the state of Maryland. And I just released my book last summer called She's Dead.
And there is a silent pause right there. Wait a minute. Okay. Now, you gave us a lot right there, which I am not surprised, okay? So let's back up. How did this book get birthed out, and where did this name come from? Like, what in the world? I just got stuck.
Well, actually, my husband has been telling me since we were dating 24 years ago that I needed to write a book about my life. This book is a book that it's a memoir, but it's also a handbook to help you to identify some of the signs and symptoms of mental illness that I was exhibiting as a child, but no one identified. So as I became a mental health first aid trainer in 2017, I started to notice, wait a minute, that sounds like me. Wait a minute, that sounds like me too. And I didn't really say anything, but I did notice that there were certain things that I could identify with when I was a child. So the big overarching idea of this book is my mother passed away when I was 2 years old, and I would always ask my daddy, when is mama coming home? And I guess he just got irritated with me because, number one, he was also an abusive parent, but he would scream at me and he would say, she's dead, she's gone, stop asking. Well, to a 2-3-year-old, what does she's gone mean? It means she left. So when I heard that, all I could think of was perhaps she went to the store and she couldn't find her way home. So as I got older, I started to identify with having a spirit of neglect and abandonment. And I lived a life of feeling unloved and unworthy of love. And the name Dr. Worth It really came from the idea that I'm going to speak positivity into my life. I'm going to speak wholeness into my life. Instead of the spirit of worthlessness, I'm going to speak words of affirmations to myself so that I know that I am worth it. So, and that's why I named my company that. The other thing is that in 2019, my sister and my brother passed away within 8 months of each other, and I also lost my house by fire. So those three traumas created, it was like a storm, because I went into a deep depression. I was diagnosed with depression, PTSD, and an anxiety disorder that year. And it all stemmed back from the idea that my mother had passed away, and I had yet to say the words that she's dead, because within my life, and I'm telling you, I was 43 years old, and I still believed that my mother was out there somewhere. And going through therapy, my therapist, thank God for therapists, but she worked with me until she got me to the point it was the summer before last, yes. She got me to a point where I was able to say the words, she's dead, without breaking down into an anxious fit. So as I wrote this book is dedicated to my mother, because I had to live a life of feeling abandoned, but God was able to, he was able to keep me through all of that, even through the abuse of a father who broke my hands at one point, black eyes, bloody nose, those types of things. But God still kept me. And so I believe within this book, there's healing for some women out there who are living a life of feeling like they're alone. They're living a life that feels like I'm the only one that went through a tragedy such as this. But I'm here to tell you, you're not alone, and you're so worth everything that is out there for you.
I just thank and praise God just for your testimony. I really do. I deal with so many women, especially in my ministry, where the baseline of it is getting them to tell their stories. You know what I mean? And it's very hard for some of them to come out and really express what happened in their life. And when I hear the title, She's Dead, I automatically think, where's the film at? Where's the play? Where's the monologue? Everybody that knows me, it's just in my DNA to just be like, come on, authors, bring this stuff to the stage. Like, I'm just like, I want to see it. Like,
Oh, wow.
So instantly, as you begin talking, I can literally see monologue. I can literally see like a film in real time, like talking about this. And I'm just like, Lord have mercy, what this will look like in real time as a visual. You know, imagine somebody reading it, but then imagine somebody flipping it over and turning on the screen or something and actually seeing this thing act out in full real time. So I'm just saying, FYI, I got to be obedient to the Lord. This is what I was seeing while you were talking to me concerning this book. But let's go back. What would you say would be some symptoms of mental illness? Because listen, I'm gonna tell you something. Mental illness is real. A lot of people don't know what the signs are, but I think this is one of the things that if we really put this before people's ears, because it not only happens in adults, it happens in children as well. So what would you say would be some of the symptoms that can definitely be identified in children as well as adults?
Well, for every person, there are different signs and symptoms. Your symptoms for anxiety might look completely different than mine. Your signs and symptoms for depression might look different than mine. But I can tell you, for anxiety disorder, for instance, you might see sweating, trembling, heart palpitations, muscle tension, restlessness, excessive worry, sleep disturbances, fatigue, trouble concentrating, irritability, and even phobias. Some people don't recognize eating disorders as a mental illness, but eating disorders are definitely mental illness. This disorder is associated with significant distress and impairment in functioning. That's one of the things that I talk about in my book, Living with an Eating Disorder, because I felt like the only thing that could love me was food. And I used it as self-medication. And we talk a lot about people who are overweight, and we say, well, you just need to stop eating. It's not that easy. It's not that easy, especially when you understand that most people who are overweight or obese, a lot of times they are suffering from a mental illness. The food is what they use to self-soothe themselves. And that's what I did. Every time I thought of my mama and I wanted my mama, I ate. As a baby, I think my sister told me, she said, that's what my daddy would do. When I would cry for mama, he would scream at me, but then he would go get me ice cream. He'd go get me cake. He would feed me so that I could stop crying. There's personality disorders. There's some things that happen to us that are because of our genes, because of our environment. There's so many different ones. One of the things that I did as well was I pulled out my hair. Okay, it's called trichotillomania. And I didn't even recognize that was a mental illness until, like I said, I started teaching mental health first aid, and I realized, wait a minute, I remember having a big bald spot in the top of my head and covering it up with my hair. I would pull it out from the root. I would pull my eyebrows out and I would pull my hair out. Increasing sense of tension before I was pulling. And then once I pulled it out, it felt like all the tension within me was released. You also see children who cut themselves, who self-harm themselves. And we think of cutting as the only one, but we can also put eating disorders under there. That's self-harm. Bulimia, anorexia, all of those things are disorders that are mental illnesses. So there's so many out there, some that you wouldn't even recognize as a mental disorder, but they're out there, and our children are suffering.
Absolutely, I agree. This generation here, as you were talking, I was just really thinking about how many parents that may have children that are doing these things that you have said, or not even that, just the adults. And I'm so glad that you said therapist, because people act like that is a word like of shame. And I'm just like, please, I'm going to need y'all to stop thinking that this is a word of shame. If you need a therapist, please, by all means, go. Like, you know, because some of us have came up and said, oh, no, we deal with our own problems, but you may not be able to deal with this. You might need to take this to a professional. And I just, you know, again, I'm just so thankful for advocates like yourself and many others that keep speaking about these things so that people can get educated behind it. And then when they see the signs and the symptoms, they can do something about it. So that leads me to you becoming a keynote speaker to really focus on mental health and things like that. So how did you kind of get into the keynote speaking?
Well, it came after I started teaching mental health first aid, because the great thing about my ability to do this training is I'm able to identify with people who are experiencing the same signs and symptoms that I experienced. So as I train, I always, you know, tell stories about my life. I'm open to share because I believe that God took me through that in order that I can share. I don't keep it to myself. Yes, sometimes I still cry, but that's okay. You know, crying is release. And I'm so happy that I'm able to help someone else and I'm able to share. And as I continue to share during these trainings, I'll get a call back and say, Tangela, can you come to my church and speak? Tangela, can you be on this platform and speak about your experience? So, yes, I certainly can, and that is really the big reason and the way I became a keynote speaker.
That is beautiful, you know, how God really turns our tears to our purpose, because we always ask the question, why do we go through this? And I always tell people, listen, that process of yours that you go through, if you can make it through the process, you're going to see why you had to endure what you had to endure. And I just love that your story goes from one point to the next, and it just blossoms out like a flower, and it gives people hope, you know, that are listening. So many people have given up hope. So many people are ready to end it all because they feel that they cannot endure their process anymore. You understand what I'm saying? So I thank you for being a voice and an advocate for these things. So what's next for you? What is next for you? This is 2022. We are out of 2021. And what is next for you? What can we expect to hear from you this year?
I am getting ready to release my next book. It's called 365 Prayers for My Black Son. And this is a book of prayers, and it's also a journal for mothers and fathers. As you know, and as we all know, our black boys have a lot that's stacked against them. And I said to myself, why are we continuing just to sit around worrying and talking about it? It's time that we pray about it. So hopefully my book will be released by the summer of 2022. We're finishing up the editing right now, and hopefully it will be released by June.
Okay, June, that's my birthday month. Okay. That's my birthday month. Yes, indeed. Yes. And it's actually June the 7th. So listen, I believe in completion. I believe in completion and things getting done. You understand? So I will be on the lookout for that, because that sounds amazing. And again, it seems to me like the more that you talk, that God is just like, this is my world changer. I called her to be a solution to a problem. Hear me. Like, you have been called to be a solution, and you are definitely walking that thing out. So why don't you go ahead and let everybody know how they can connect with you, how they can go purchase your book, and so forth.
Thank you so much. And I do want to say, I remember being a little girl as going through life's challenges, and I would sing the song, Master, Can You Use Me? And I'm so glad that he's able to use me. Even in my mess, he's able to use me. In my flaws, he's able to use me. So thank you so much for having this platform for people such as myself to be able to share. You can find me on Facebook at Dr. Worthit Mental Health Tidbits, and doctor is spelled D-O-C-T-A. Dr. Worthit mental health tidbits. On Twitter, you can find me at Dr. Worth It. IG, you can find me at Dr. Worth It 20. And my website is worthitmhfa.com. Feel free to send me an email at tangela.terrell@zohomail.com. Again, that's TANGELIA.TERRELL at Zoho, ZOHO, mail.com. You can order my book on Amazon. She's Dead.
Lord have mercy. Well, thank you so much, Tangela. Dr. Worth It. I appreciate you coming here. You are well worth it. Your whole story is awesome and is off the chain. Y'all make sure that y'all go purchase her book, go follow her and see what she is doing. We have both of you women that came on tonight, even Miss Friend Chair. I am appreciative of what you guys do. You guys are definitely making your mark in the earth. So you guys keep doing what you're doing. And thank you so much for coming to bless Facing Purpose with your story and your triumph and what God is doing with you even the more. Okay? And I want to see this book. Listen, monologue, something. We got to get this to happen. Miss
oh my gosh, you sound like my husband. You sound like my husband. He keeps telling me, send that to Tyler Perry.
And here's the thing, and I'm gonna help you out real quick. I'm about to drop this gem on you. Listen, there are others out here, and I'm talking to everybody that's an author that's listening with your good ears. There is someone in the earth closer than you know that can handle your project, and it doesn't necessarily have to be Tyler Perry. Mm-hmm. Y'all better hear me when I'm saying this. He has birthed out many that do not have big followings, but has the anointing and the capability to do what is needed to be done in entertainment or media, whatever you want to call it, to birth out what needs to be done concerning you all and changing it in from book to film to monologue to whatever. So don't y'all get stuck with Mr. Tyler Perry now, because God has birthed out some other folks that's a little bit more closer, and their anointing is a little bit more authentic. No shade to them, because I love them, but I'm just telling the truth.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Mic drop tonight. Mic drop. Oh, my gosh. Okay, y'all, so that is my time. I appreciate these wonderful heavy hitters in the game that I am excited about, and you should be too. Thank you both for coming to join Faith and Purpose. You guys make sure that you share this wide, far and wide, because somebody needs to hear what these women had to say on tonight. You guys make sure you tune in with me every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And again, I am Lakia Barnett, your host. Okay, your friend, your sister in Christ, and I love all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in.
SPCIAL, you special, you so wonderful. You know you a queen, so never let them get you off your throne. Perfect just the way you are, you blessed beyond a channel wall. You're beautiful when they see out of control, you'll see. It came up to can't knock you down. You an angel and you're so now. I see you, yeah, you're glowing, you're rolling, so lethal, yeah, explosive commotion.